You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okelo, and I am in Seattle, Washington. We are live streaming today's conversation on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Simon Javan Okelo, and we are also live with our audience on Clubhouse. Our community on Clubhouse is like a big part of this family. The Daily African Proverbs started in Clubhouse, as a space where we bring African people globally to gather every morning, Monday to Friday lately. And today we have a proverb that's actually from a number of West African communities, but it's from the Ijo tribe, so you find it in Nigeria, you find it in Ghana, and we are going to dissect this proverb with a really special guest who is joining me from Zimbabwe, my brother Tino Farah Manasseh. And Tino Farah, is an amazing leader. He's currently the CEO of Total Transformation, a Zimbabwean registered private voluntary organization whose mission is to inspire lives and transform communities through holistic approaches in various communities around Zimbabwe. So we are going to learn a little more about, this proverb from West Africa, but from the perspective of our brother in Zimbabwe. And then we are going to learn a little bit about, Tino Farah. What is it that, inspires him as a leader today that started when he was still a little boy growing up in Zimbabwe? And then we are going to talk about the work that he's doing with Total Transformation, Center for Total Transformation in Zimbabwe. We are going to learn more about his work there. So if you are, joining us on YouTube, thank you. I want to welcome you, Tino Farah. Share with us just briefly your thoughts in regards to today's proverb, that I shared with you earlier. But the proverb says that if a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. If you have not secured a place for yourself on the floor, you should not look for a space on a mat. Share with us your perspectives on this, and then from there, we'll learn a little more about you.
Thank you so much, Simon. First of all, amazing work that you're doing, and it's good to finally connect with you. And thank you very much for having me on your platform. I've actually been pondering a lot on your proverb. These African proverbs give you a lot to think about. You're full of wisdom. So what I picked up from the proverb was that a person who hasn't secured a place on the floor shouldn't look for a mat. So what I got from that was I think you have to do the groundwork, and you have to build a foundation. You have to do the groundwork, and you can't reach. You can't look for a place. You can't sit yourself on the floor. You can't look for a mat. You can't look for comfortability without having done the hard work on the ground, or secured, or set a platform, set a foundation for whatever it is that you're doing. So I got when I was pondering on the proverb, I got a sense of some people who want gratification very quickly without having done the work. So that's basically what I picked up from the proverb.
Wow. I agree with what you're saying, that a lot of people want gratification while they've not put in enough work. And I really appreciate that. And, I feel that as a leader, especially you know, I love centering our guests. For the first 30 minutes of this conversation, it's just going to be
Okay.
all about you and the work you do. And then towards the end, we are going to invite a number of attendees in our
Okay.
show today are attending from different parts of the world. We have people here in the US, people in Europe, people in Asia,
Yes.
people in Africa listening, and some of them will be able to ask you a few questions. So at the end,
That's
I want
awesome.
you to share with us how people can support your work and also how people can stay connected with you. So start thinking about that. But I want you to take us, you know, back to your childhood growing up. You know, there's something you shared earlier that a lot of young people these days, they want instant gratification. They want to put in very little work and then get results immediately, you know. For example, in Kenya, where I come from right now, corruption is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing, and I am very
Yes,
sure it's a problem in Zimbabwe too, right?
definitely. It's definitely a trending topic out here.
So you see, something like corruption is perpetuated because young people tolerate it, because young people are even, you know, they are accelerating how fast corruption is happening because they're not calling it out. They are participants. They were, you know, like in Kenya, it's so much that we now have fake money industries that are thriving. There are billionaires
Wow.
out of the fake money industry.
Fake money. Wow.
Yeah, so it means it's called wash, you know, and
Oh.
it's gone too far. And according to this proverb, you know, those are the people that want instant gratification. But I come from, you know, a place where I see leaders as people who have to really fight, have to really stay humble, have to have had a lot of experiences and gone through a lot to get to where they are, you know, because leadership is earned. Leadership is not bestowed upon somebody, you know. So I want you to take us back to your childhood when you are 8 to 12. Share with us a story of, you know, what is it that happened around that time that still inspires you today. But also, feel free to talk about food. You know, if you had a favorite food around that time that you still love today, you can talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or a
Of
place
course.
or some colors. We just want to travel, you know, your childhood together with you.
All right. Now, those were definitely the good old days. It was a great time. I think from around about 8 till 12. It's funny now that I'm considered a leader because back then I remember being a little bit reserved and a little bit shy. But I think I grew up out of that little cocoon. So from 8 to 12, one of my most vivid memories that I can relate to today, where I am today, is me and my brother. I have a little brother, Kuda. We you might mistake him for you mistake us for twins if you see us. We're very much alike, and we grew up together, and we were very close when we grew up. I remember we used to, in the backyard, in my mother's backyard, we used to have play pretend companies. So we had our little trucks and our little toys, and we would play pretend company. So he had his company. I think, if I remember correctly, it was Ghoster, and I had my company, which was West Point, and we'd just play. And at that age, we didn't. I think we were about 7 or 8. We didn't know anything about what it took to run a company, except for the little things that we maybe saw on TV, or we heard interacting with some of the business leaders in the community. So we pretend. I think our companies ran for almost 2 years, and we were just pretending, trading in fake money, having fake meetings. But little did we know that period of life was actually, there was a seed that was actually being planted in us, surprisingly. And I actually, I can trace back some of the attributes that I have now. Like, oh, okay, that's actually something that was put in me at a very young age to be a leader, not just for in the not-profit world, but also in some of the small business ventures that I do. And hey, you talked about favorite foods. I would eat any and everything. I'm sure if I stood up right now, you'd see the evidence. But it was a great childhood. And I think the best thing that I remember from that age is I grew up in a very a prayerful family. So that grounded me to where I am right now. And most of everything that I learned about life was from a spiritual perspective. So which helped shape my life, to the way that I am right now, to the man that I am right now. And so as we went on, maybe a little bit after 12, around about 12, 13 years old, one of the main things that I attribute to the character that I've managed to cultivate and I still work on till this day is, surprisingly, the sport of basketball. Because at that age, I think my older brother used to play basketball, so I always used to go watch his games. And then at 12 years old, I finally got the chance to join the school basketball team. And I quickly realized that, up to watching the games and seeing people styling and performing all sorts of skills, that's it's all fun and games, but there's a lot of behind the work scenes that goes into there if you actually want to be the best. So when I started playing basketball, I think a lot of things that, again, well, most of the work ethic that I have today, most of the strategizing, most of the sacrificing skills I learned from the sport of basketball. Because at times, me and my brother always joke that life is sort of like a game of basketball, actually. It's a game of basketball. You have to keep pushing till the very end. There's a lot of grind, a lot of hard work, a lot of hustle that goes into that sport. I think you being out in Washington, the Washington Wizards is actually one of my favorite teams. And I'm sure if you go on YouTube, you can see these guys work extremely hard. And so that's I kind of take that life philosophy from basketball. That's, if you want to achieve success at the greatest heights, or you want to achieve whatever your definition of success might be, I think it takes a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, and a lot of character, and a great attitude to get that. And I think I managed to pick that up. Not saying I've attained the highest level. I'm still definitely always working on myself, but that is definitely where the seed was planted in my early childhood, through those two significant events. That's the most significant events that I can remember.
Thank you. Beautiful. I appreciate the calmness by which you tell your stories, and I'm just so excited to continue having this conversation with you. I want you to think about, the work that you've done. You've served over 10,000 women and children through your work with, the Center for Total Transformation. Your non-profit organization. I want you to speak about that. What you've done at the moment, and where you're looking for help.
Okay.
And then I want you to also share what opportunities exist for African people across the diaspora and in other parts of Africa. How can they support your work, because that's the kind of audience that is listening to our conversation today and also watching our conversation today on YouTube. But also, I just learned something about you while I was researching for our conversation today, that you also
Okay.
run Mumana Enterprises. And I
Oh
feel that
yes, yes,
agribusiness is very, very important. Zimbabwe especially used to be the breadbasket of the world, not just Africa, you know.
definitely.
So
Yes, yeah.
I want you to speak to that a little bit. But before you do that, I want to welcome Hazel. Hazel is our connection, and Hazel is how Tino Farah, Manasseh, and myself connected. So thank you, Hazel, for all that you do and for being such an amazing connector. And Dr. No Days Off, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for being here. My brother Tutaleni, thank you for being here. And Dr. Wanda and my brother Louis George Smith, thank you for joining us. I want to invite everyone else who is in the room. I want to invite you to join us on stage so that you can share your perspectives on today's proverb. We want to learn from you as well. Welcome, Laura Jean, who is a friend and also from my hometown Kisumu. It's always nice to have you in the room as well. Now I want to come back to my special guest, my brother Tino Farah. Share with us, just a little bit background of why you started, the Center for Total Transformation, and also, how you grew it so that you could serve over 10,000 women and children. What's most exciting about it right now, and then what are the challenges? Speak to us about those themes. Thank you so much.
Oh, so say as you mentioned at the beginning of the program, Center for Total Transformation is a, a private voluntary organization here in Zimbabwe, and primarily what the issues that we deal with. We deal with women, children, and the youth as well, with a main focus on orphans and vulnerable children. So, currently at the moment, we're located in Harare, area just 20 k's away from the city center, and we cater to almost 600 orphans and vulnerable children. So they come to our center, which is we like to call it a multi-purpose center, where there's a holistic approach to development of the human beings and the children and the youth. So at this multi-purpose center, we run a feeding program, and we also have a school, a now formal school that we run from, has grade 1 to grade 7, and we also have some vocational skills training in sewing, carpentry, and agriculture as well. So the history of CTT is very I think it was God driven from the very start. The organization itself started in 1998. Sorry, in '98. That's when the birth of CTT was, and they were in a rural community that's called Chiweshe here in Zimbabwe. So when they were in Chiweshe, they used to run a number of programs. I think we were the organization that brought actually toilets to the community out there, and a lot of the women and the youth ran programs, different income generating programs, from piggery to poultry to gardening, and we also had education out there. We had a creche that would help educate the little ones in that community. And I think the impact of CTT was very, very evident in that area. We were there for about 8 years or so in that community, serving that community, and then some circumstances beyond our control happened, and we then moved to Harare, which is where we are now, located on a 33 hectare piece of land. So at this CTT story is just another amazing story of how it just speaks to the transformation power that's in CTT as an organization, and that it's not just a name; it's actually what we do. We come in and we transform communities because we feel it's our mission, our mandate from God. So We started there in Harare in 2011. So 2011, we got there. I think we started with only 20 children. So our main focus was to get out of school children to come in, and we feed them, we play with them, and teach them the word of God. So very simple mission, very simple task. But as we grew and as more children came in, we had a certain time slot that we used to invite them over. But we started, as we did our investigations around the community, we noticed that a lot of the kids in the community were out of school. So that's when a light bulb rang, and a light bulb flashed, and then we decided to also venture into education as well. So that was the birth of Total Transformation Primary School, which is under Center for Total Transformation as an organization. So primarily, our focus and our vision with Total Transformation Primary School is to have an upscale upscale primary school and eventually also a high school. So I don't know what schools you have out there, but I'm sure you know of a bit of some private schools that have state of the art facilities. And out here we have a few, I'll mention a few: Peterhouse and maybe St. George's College, some of the upscale private schools. So our vision was to have, and is still to build and to have a upscale private school, but mostly and only focused on orphans and vulnerable children, to give them that exposure and to also just teach them the lesson that where you come from
That's good.
is not always where you end up, and your story at the beginning doesn't have to be the way your story ends, and you can transform into a better human being. So we want to give them the opportunity to just that leverage to also be somebody in the world. So that's mainly, in a nutshell, that's what CTT is and what it's about. So besides education, I mentioned education, we also provide food security for the community. So we do provide food packs. We also provide daily meals. To date, I think we've served over 30,000 meals from 2011 to date, and we keep going every day. We keep feeding, and because Zimbabwe, you mentioned it's the breadbasket of Africa, but for the past few years, there's been a lot of hunger and poverty. So, where some people in the community, some sad stories where some people don't even go to bed without even having a meal. And we've also had situations where we felt we had to step into the community. I'll just share a story quickly where one of the little children at the center, as we were feeding them, I noticed that she had food in her pocket. She had put some of her food. She ate half of it. She put some of it in her pocket, and that was very concerning. So we approached her. We asked her, "Oh, why is the food in your pocket? What is that food for? What's the purpose of that food?" And she just burst out crying, and she said that her mother hadn't eaten in almost 2 weeks now. So she's relying on the little food that I put in my pocket to come and to that I put in my pocket, so that when I get home I give it to her. So those are some of the issues that we try to address in the community, and we hope also to expand our operations into different communities across Zimbabwe and across Africa as well. So, and then also apart from that, we also have the agriculture, as you mentioned. I've had a big passion for agriculture. I think one story that I left out in the beginning from my old age, my mom was very big on horticulture. I think that's actually paid some of our school fees. So I used to also follow around in the garden. So from that, I started my own little garden with about 2 beds of vegetables that I used to sell for airtime and all of that. So that kind of grew into me as well, horticulture. And as the years went by, actually noticed that it's a lucrative business, did more research and started on it. That's how we started the company Mumana, which actually also partners with CTT to run community-based gardens. So we mainly focus on horticulture, and we have the community come around, the serious people in the community, and they help with the maintenance of these gardens. And in exchange for that, they also get produce that they can sell, and they take a certain percentage of that produce for themselves, for the upkeep of their family, and then they share the rest with the Center for Total Transformations to keep the organization's operations running. So that's some of the ways that we're also serving the community around us. Amongst that, we also have vocational training. So there's a problem. I think we're trying to separate, and to also there's a notion that education is the only way out of poverty, of just a hard life in the end. But education most people attribute education to sitting in class, but we also, from our experience, education also involves things you can do with your hands and skills. So we're trying to impart that into the youth, because most of the people who graduate nowadays can't go get formal jobs, or we have children who have been out of school for a very long time or have never set foot in a classroom. You can't then take a 16-year-old and tell them you have to go back to grade 1. That doesn't really make sense. So we started that vocational school so that the children and the youth as well, those who are not fit for class, can have something to do with their hands. So apart from the skills they learn in sewing, carpentry, and agriculture, they also take very short lessons in English, maths, and also accounts, so that they're just well versed. They can compete. They have skills, and they can also compete in the business world by speaking and doing their calculations correctly. So, in a nutshell, that's CTT. That's who we are, and that's the work that we've been doing so far in the community.
Yeah, it's amazing work. It's amazing work, and I commend you for that. I commend you for that, because I know it's not easy work. My mother ran an orphanage home from 1997 to 2013 in Kenya.
Wow.
So every day we lived with over 60 children that stayed with us overnight. During the day we had over 100 children that were going to school. The school is still there until now, but we've changed it into a creative hub where we have film production, dance. It's like a tech and art space, So what you're doing is really important, even with feeding, as you're sharing the story of that, that child that put food in their pocket. It reminded me of a number of stories like that in Kenya, but also here in Seattle, Washington, where I live. The challenge is, it exists. It exists. There's a guest I interviewed for this podcast. She's a well-known poet now, and a leader here in Seattle. But she came from a very humble background, and there's a time when they could not even afford. You should watch that episode. They could not even afford food to eat, and they went to a park here in Seattle where there was a church at that park. On one side of the park, the parks here are huge. So on one side there was a church that was having a picnic, and this friend of mine who I interviewed for this podcast, she shared the story of how her mom and her brother were on the other side, and then they saw that those people might have some food. So she was the courageous one. So she's the one who was asked, you go and find out if they have some food, ask for some, And so she went, she introduced herself, and she asked, and they gave her a plate full of food. And then she hesitated to leave. She asked for, can I have another plate for my mom and my brother, and the pastor of that church told her, why don't you go and ask your mom and your dad to join us, so that you can have as much as you want. So she was sharing with me the joy of running back to her mom and her brother to tell them that, look, come, let's have as much as we want. Yeah, so when I grew up in an environment like that too, because my mom took in so many orphans and we could not do it on our own. Sometime, the food that was being provided by the government, we would go to the government to get donated food. Even if you go to the school now, you still find UNICEF desks. It used to be a lot of work. So what you're going through now, I can completely relate to it. And I want you to think about how everyone who is listening can support you and how they can stay connected with you. But for a moment, I just want you to hear what people have to say, because the first half an hour for the Daily African Proverbs show, I normally want to hear from our guest, if we have a guest. And then the last 30 minutes, for a moment, I just want to hear from our audience members. They will share their thoughts on this proverb. They will comment on our conversation. And then I will bring it back to you so that you can share your closing remarks and also how people can stay connected with you.
That's great.
Great. For everyone who is just joining us, welcome to the Daily African Proverbs. We are live streaming on YouTube, and we are also live here on Clubhouse in the African Father in America Club. I encourage you to follow the club if you haven't. And if you are a member of the club, I want to invite you to bring in other people into the club. Invite other people into the African Father in America Club. That's the name of my podcast as well. So if you want to listen to this conversation later on, you can catch it across all podcasting platforms. And you will also have this conversation available on YouTube. The YouTube link, the link to the conversation is pinned at the top of the room on Clubhouse. So thank you again for, the continued support. This work of doing the Daily African Proverbs is not easy work. I'm not being paid to do this, but I know that this is one of the ways that we can protect and preserve African culture, one proverb at a time. And whenever we gather, share these proverbs, discuss them together, we are making our ancestors proud. We are making them smile, because we are not the first ones discussing African proverbs. Even my mom used them so much in nurturing me to become who I am today. So I encourage you to take what you learn from this room to the real world, so that African wisdom can also be applied in our day-to-day lives. Now I want to hear from Hazel. Hazel, thank you again for connecting Tino Farah and myself. I want you to take a moment and just share your thoughts on today's proverb and also the conversation that we've been having so far.
Hi, Simon. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for giving Chinofara this platform and opportunity. So I tried to go on Google to look for the meaning of the proverb, but that was cheating. So I didn't find anything. I had to really think deep on it. So the first initial thought that came to my mind was that before you've reached your purpose, so you've been fulfilled, and you really feel deep down in your heart that you're leading a fulfilled life, you should not get comfortable and tell yourself that I've reached the summit, I've broken glass ceilings. And also for myself, I think I always think in terms of the aspect of Ubuntu, how we're all part of a group, and you always help others before you help yourself. So for me, to secure a place, to look for a mate, I should help someone, impact someone's life. So that's only when I can say I can be comfortable. I can look for a place on the floor now. I've passed the baton to someone else. I've helped them with their life. And also with regard to what Tinofara was sharing, I'd just like to say I met Tinofara through his mom, because like the work she does, I always tell her that she's the modern day Mother Teresa, because the land that they got, it's like really prime land in Harare. It's like just on the outskirts of Harare, and most people when they get such land, they'll think of a business. Maybe they'll say we want to put a hotel or anything. But for her, she opened it up for orphans and vulnerable children, which is something that I'm passionate about, and also looking at it, this provides security for the students. It's not just psychosocial support, like you said. They offer them comprehensive support from the classroom to the home, and like they're tackling food security. They're making sure they have skills. And for most of them, like you said, it's now a formal school. They help them get connected to bigger schools, and they're having like education. They're being empowered in breaking the cycle of poverty. Because one thing that was happening was that they noticed that a lot of the children who are coming to the center, their parents has also gone to the center. So they had to find a way to make sure like they break the cycle and the children don't come back. Maybe they just come back to give back, but not to say that their children come there and their children's children. So I really like appreciate what they're doing, the work that they're doing, and especially with poverty affecting a lot of children right now in Zimbabwe. And Center for Total Transformation is one of the non-formal education centers that really worked and pushed for themselves to be registered as a formal school. And the main aspect that made them become registered was because if you're not registered as a formal school, if there are issues of abuse among the children, you can like do anything. You're not empowered to do anything. So for her to think of those orphans and vulnerable children and to be like, hey, even if it takes a lot of resources and time. They work to push that, and I just admire everything that they're doing. And now, with Tino now being the leader and the CEO, he's doing a great work, and they've really grown in terms of like the agricultural side of the center.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. You know, you can't do anything on your own, and Tino, I'm just so
True.
proud of you, and Hazel, I'm also proud of you. So keep helping each other. You know, a lot of the time on virtual spaces like Clubhouse, on YouTube, on Twitter Spaces, people talk, but very few people do, and you guys are, you know, demonstrating that it can be done. And also we talk a lot about Africans helping each other, and you guys are demonstrating that actually African people can support each other, and also we can have wonderful African CEOs like you, Tino. So thank you,
Yes,
Dr.
definitely.
MD
Thank you,
Williams.
sir.
Share with us briefly your perspectives on the proverb, and also your comments on the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. I appreciate that. Well, first thing I will say is to you is that you're always getting paid for your efforts and your work, especially if you are doing it from your heart and following your passion. It might not come into the form of money all the time, but trust me, you're always getting paid some shape, form, or fashion. And I know you know that. But
That's true.
I
That's
also
true.
wanted just to I also wanted to thank the guest for the work that he's doing in Zimbabwe and across
Oh,
the continent of Africa. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and speak it into existence across the world. One of the
thank you. Thank you.
poverty is poverty, but one of the great equalizers in this world is education. That's one of the great equalizers. And especially when the individual applies the education that they receive. You see, one of the things that happened, I'm African American, born and raised in Houston, Texas. I've been all over the world because I am military. I've been in Africa, and I've seen the poverty, and I've witnessed, a lot of devastation and destruction, and it's sad, And one thing I've always taught my children was to always have a micro of gratitude for the things that you have living in the United States, and I feel that is one of the major disconnects with our African American heritage here in the United States is that we forget that where we come from, and we forget what's still going on back where we came from. But I've always made sure that my children growing up understood that the food that's on your table, be happy, because there are people who don't have that. There are people who are struggling just to have that. The lot you have on your plate will feed a family somewhere else. I've seen it myself with my own eyes, right? So I appreciate that work that you're doing, and it's very difficult work because you're seeing a lot of destruction, you're seeing a lot of poverty, you're seeing a lot of despair. But the work that you're doing, the work that your organization is doing, is going to bring light. It's going to change somebody's life somewhere down the road. And I'm not saying you don't see that. I know you do. That's why you're doing what you're doing. But it's going to happen, and everyone should support that organization in some shape, form, or fashion. Which is one of the reasons why I partnered with my partner in Namibia, Dr. Ron Chapena, with starting and building Royal Ambassadors Consulting to teach leadership and development, corporate government, and coaching on how to be better. Because, like I said, education is the great equalizer, especially when you apply that education, because they can take everything else away from you, but they cannot take away your education. They cannot take away what you have already learned. They can't take away what you know, right? So they can take everything away from you, but you can always rebuild it with the education that you have and that you've gained, knowledge and experience. And on speaking about the proverb, my business mentor used to always always had a term, and it was called. He always used to say, "If it's easy, it's sleazy." Right, and basically, and it boils back down to this proverb because the instant gratification is a big issue here in the United States. Big issue with parents who are teaching their children to have an attitude of gratitude and to work hard and to work diligently for what they want. But because today's world, it puts out there, a lot of people think that these people that are being successful, they instantly get it, but they're not showing the groundwork, the hard work behind it. So you have to lay down some groundwork. You have to put forth some work. In one of my broadcasts in Wisdom app, I talked about that. So you know, this African proverb is just basically letting people know you got to put down the groundwork. You got to work hard. Why are you going to want to have a mat in your hand and ready to go to put your stamp somewhere when you haven't even laid the groundwork to even get into that industry or get into that compound, right? Doesn't make sense to do that. So, that's what this proverb means to me. And I turn it back over to you, Sam.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. M.D. Williams. I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful for your perspectives. And I want to welcome everyone else who is in the room with us today on Clubhouse. Thank you so much. And also to everyone who is joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. Make sure you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, Simon Javan Okelo. That's one way that you can support this movement, and also share yesterday's proverb that is also on my YouTube channel. Leave your comments there as well. The other way you can support is by tapping into my Instagram account. If you tap on my image here on Clubhouse and scroll down on my profile, you'll be able to get to my Instagram account. Follow me over there and leave a comment on today's proverb, so that I can respond and engage with you as well. But we do this daily African proverbs consistently since January, and one of the people who have supported this work the most is my brother Tutaleni, who is from Namibia, but he lives and works here as a professor here in the US. Tutaleni, thank you again for making the time. I have so much love and respect for you. Share your perspectives on Tino Farah's work and also today's proverb. Thank you so much.
Brother Simon, always great to be in this space with you. Thank you for staying consistent, like you said, since January, offering us a space for reflection and to center our day, whether we're beginning or whether we are at the end of it, depending on where we are located in the world. I really have been enjoying the conversation. One of the things that I've been hearing from our guest today is really more about, I'm so reminded of the old saying that is often attributed to Mother Teresa about being the change that you want to see in the world. And I think the work that he's doing is really being that, being the change, rather than just talking about the change that we want to see. So, congratulations on that work, and I think it's very inspirational. When I was reading the
Thank you.
proverb today, it, the one thing that kept coming to my mind is the old saying of "Don't count your eggs before they're hatched." And it also reminded me of, when I advise students at the university, especially when they are just finishing their first degree, their bachelor, they usually come and say, well, should I go to graduate school and get my master's, or should I go and get a job? And my response has usually been, well, do you have a job offer? And their response would be no. Do you have an offer to a graduate program? The answer is usually no. And then my response is like, well, then what are you debating about? So a person who has not secured um, a place on the floor should not look for a mat. We jump far ahead and start looking um, for things before we even have that which we are looking for. So I think that's one of the things that came to my mind, that we jump so far ahead that we even skip some of these foundational and basic steps. We jump far ahead about wanting to change the world and wanting to do and see a better world, but we're not willing to do the simple things that our guest today was talking about, like, starting off the first step, meeting with kids, teaching them about, religion, feeding your neighbors, and things like that, that are the building block to changing and creating a better world. Tutalini, I'm done speaking.
Wow. Thank you, my brother Tutaleni, for sharing with us your perspectives. I want to, go quickly to Dr. Wanda. Dr. Wanda, share with us your perspectives on today's proverb and also any comment on the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. And this reminds me about 3 weeks ago now, I was invited to preach a message at my church. I was so honored. And one of the things that I talked about was how there's growing pains on the road to success, and that we have to endure those growing pains. Just as Dr. Williams was just saying, trouble comes easy and trouble is quick, but success is not. And the thing is, a person's gifts and talents can get them to be promoted, can get them in front of people, that can get them to what appears to be successful. But if their character can't keep them, then they're into a mighty fall. And depending on what kind of business it was and how many people are around them, they're going to take collateral damage and they're going to bring other people down with them. But if you grow through, even adversity and hardship, and you continue to solve problems along the way, that by the time that success does come, then your character is equipped and you've been built up to, to endure, to sustain. Because there's a saying, as many people as that you can help are also as many people as you can actually hurt if you are not prepared. And that's what this proverb speaks to me. And I'm complete.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for your perspectives as well. Let's hear from Dana. Dana, thank you so much for being here with us. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the proverb and also your comments on the conversation with Tinofara. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Simon. I always feel blessed to be able to be on this platform with everyone. Being a military brat, my dad's retired military. I was in the military. My husband was in the military. Come from a huge military family. it was a very humbling experience. And I will not even try to pronounce the guest speaker's name, so I do apologize. um, because I do believe in, saying a person's name correctly is very important and respectful, but it just touches my heart to hear what you and your nonprofit organization is doing. Because I remember when, excuse me, I'm trying not to get emotional, but as a child, we used to tell my dad, when he sent us to the store and he'd be like, bring me my change back. And we would be like, man, it's only a quarter. I mean, Dad, it's only a quarter. It's only a penny. It's only a dime. And, my dad would look at us and he would say, you know what? Well, that's my dime. That's my quarter, my penny. And when we got stationed in other countries where there is no welfare system, if you're poor, that's it. you know, and without organizations or people that acknowledge that there are some people in this world that want a hand up. They don't want a handout. They want you to teach them how to fish, because in that they're empowered. They get a sense of respect. They get a sense of, just because this is where I'm at today, tomorrow I'm not going to be here if I just keep taking it one day at a time and I keep moving forward. So I thank you for everything that you're doing for the unfortunate. And what this proverb says to me: a person who has not secured a place on the floor should not look for a mat. Entitlement is so disappointing these days, of especially the young feeling entitled, because they woke up this morning. They should have an iPad. They should have an iPod, because mom and dad, work a job. For Christmas, I deserve this flat screen TV. What happened to the good old days? I was raised old school. My parents have 3 kids. I'm the middle child and the only daughter. And my dad's expectations for me was way more than for my brothers. I had to cut grass. I had to change oil, change a tire. I had to do all these fundamentals, because in doing that, he taught me work ethic. He taught me to be more than just a pretty face and a nice shape. He taught me self-respect. He taught me pride. He taught me that what I'm looking for in a man, I have to be that way as a woman. And it is nobody's responsibility to make my process and journey easy. The more you want, the more impact you want to have on people's life, the more you have to be willing to go through. And the key word to that is willing. Are you willing to give up everything for your dreams and goals to help people? If you are, then you have got to go through some things. Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom. You might be homeless, but when you're laying flat on your back, you're looking up. And that's when whoever you believe in talks to you. And they remind you that this goal, this dream that you are fighting for, that the people attached to this, they don't have time to wait for you to get it together. They don't have time for you to play. They need something. People today need hope. Hope is priceless. When you give someone hope and you empower them and you teach them how to fish, generations change because of that. We, as Black Americans, as African Americans, our ancestors built this country, and we did a lot more uneducated. So, like my husband, Dr. No Days Off, said, when it came to our 3 kids, yeah, we went old school. You don't get anything, you earn it. And just because you earn it doesn't mean it can't be taken away, because everything has to grow, it has to evolve. And the only way we get better as people is we continue to teach others how to fish. We let people know that my husband, who was born and raised in the ghetto, father wasn't around, mother was an alcoholic. Yet last year, he He worked diligently and became Dr. No Days Off. Anybody else would have written him off. We've got to tell these stories so the children behind that are looking for something, they know that they are not the only ones, that there are other people out here, not just went through it, but overcome it. And I turn the platform back over to you, Simon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I speak real quick to my Simon, if you don't mind? Or?
Of course, of course. I want you to go ahead and share just briefly, your thoughts on the conversation that I'm having with Tinofara, and also your thoughts on the proverb. For a moment I forgot about you because you jumped out of the room and then you're tucked right next to me, in the order of the speakers here on Clubhouse. So I apologize. And then after you, we want to hear from Bibi and then take it back to our special guest because we are coming close to the end of our conversation today. So carry on, please.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Thank you for the stage. Shout out to African Fathers in America, Daily African Proverbs. But, I would say with the proverb specifically, a person who has not secured place on the floor should not look for a mat. Well, it means that first have a foundation, have a ground, have a base. Build it from the ground. Have something where you are, where you're grounded, where you have some type of roots. Then you look for something else, right? A tree starts with a root. A home starts with a base. So you have to have a foundation. Like anything, even in life, I'm a Pan-Africanist. So part of us, for me to move my agenda or move my movement is to have institutions, organization, to be organized, okay, to have, and then to know you're from, so that floor is Africa, don't try to look for something which is the mat, whether it's economics, or some type of, I think the mat was sometimes be economics, it could be material things, without securing where you're from, your root, your floor. Don't forget where you're from. It's funny because I feel like, knowing where you're from is very important, and that's the floor. Your identity, where you're from, and then where your foundation. So whether it's business, whether it's your roots, whether it's activism, you have to have a base, a center, a source, and that source is Africa. So have a source, then you build up. It's like a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? Right. So you have to build from the ground up. It's not from the top to the bottom. Okay. So that's what it means by a mat. First, have your foundation, your flooring, your wood, your surface. Then you have your mat, and you have the decorum and everything else. Okay, the aesthetics come later. First, have a strong foundation, so when the enemy comes, you cannot break it. It's hard to build. It's hard to break a foundation. It's hard. It's very difficult to break institutions. You'd have to literally get it from the inside. Even then, it's going to be a big problem. So, I would say, just to wrap it up, I hope I answered it. So I'm the Pan African Collective. Simon, this is another other account of ours, but you guys, we also have a club as well called the Pan African Collective. So guys, show some love for that. It's all about sharing resources and partnering, and showing time and for each other and respect, and just working together, right? So and then we also have a website called madeinafricaproject.com, and we help Black people get land, start a business, get a job, even move to Africa to find their roots. And then, we also work with your budget. You don't have to move there if you don't want to, but you can at least get opportunities there, okay? And we give you information on their videos. There's long paragraphs that really give you the information you need to be successful, and the information you need to learn more about what we have going on. So the diaspora, especially if you're African American or African in Brazil or Europe or wherever, and you want to know your roots, or you don't have connection to the continent, this is a great opportunity for you. So it's called madeinafricaproject.com. You can just Google that, and you can find more information. You can become a member, and you could just be part of the community. 54 beautiful countries in Africa, and you could be part of that community. It's important. And then we also have a GoFundMe for the Pan African Collective. It's a political economic organization standing for African self-reliance. So we work towards whether we're advocating for the African Union to be independent, to not be funded by the EU anymore, stopping aid, Africa owning its resources, but advocating for Africa and her children. And you guys are her children. Whether you consider yourself African American or just African, you are her children. The Caribbean, that's her children. So that's what we work towards. And it's going to be dialogue. It's going to be political activism. It's going to be lobbying to work for the continent, for Black. It's going to be everything. It's going to be political, economical, and military for Africa, right? So it's growing, and we're building members because you don't want people to infiltrate your cause. So, but yeah, we have a GoFundMe. You guys can check us out. You can literally go. My bio is kind of long, so go down to my Instagram, click my Instagram, and then click. Once you click my Pan African Collective Instagram, you will see the link. It's a GoFundMe. So thank you, Simon, for your time, and for everybody on the stage and at the audience.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, the Pan-African Collective. I followed you, and I also followed your club. And, I wish you all, all the best with the work, and let me know how I can support. The work you're doing is not too different from what Farah is doing. All of us are on a journey to transform Africa, and I commend you for what you're doing. Let's hear from Bibi now briefly, and then we'll come back to Farah to close us out. And Tino, remember, I want you to share with the room how they can support you, similar to how we just heard from the Pan-African Collective on the website and so on and so forth. Bibi, I hope you and the family are doing well. Share with us your thoughts on the proverb for today. This proverb is from the Ijo tribe, but it's found in various countries, in Nigeria, in Ghana, and even Guinea. So it was shared by Raphael Hari, who is the host of the White Label American podcast. He's one of the most frequent attendees of the Daily African Proverbs. He's traveling at the moment, but he emailed me with a number of proverbs from Ijo. So if you have proverbs from your community that you want us to share, let me know in the DM on Instagram, preferably. Now, Bibi, share with us your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. Hi, Simon. Hi, Teacher Lenny. Hi, Jay. Hi, see you. Hi, everyone. Today's proverb, my mind goes straight to the 10 ladies in the Bible. If you've heard the story, the ones that they were supposed to go get married, but there's 5 took extra gas for their lamps, and 5 did not take the lamp. And when the bridegroom came and it was time for them to go, they were trying to ask the other 5 that were prepared and got the extra gas, but they couldn't get it because they didn't think about it, and they ended up not going in. And that's all I could think about. It's like it's all about preparations and just preparation, because you can't expect anything without putting in the work, and also delayed gratification in this case as well. So that's just my simple take for today. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for your perspectives, and to everyone that contributed to the conversation through Clubhouse. Thank you very much. From the Pan-African Collective, Hazel, Dr. M.D. Williams, Dr. Tutaleni, Dana, and Bibi, thank you so much. And also Samara, Jay, my brother Brainy, Aris, Roger, and Joseph, thank you so much for being here. And then we have Devon, MK, Fred, Nadine, and Kuku, and Dr. Moby the Explorer, and Elom, and Latanya, and Helta, and Emto, and Jihad. Thank you all for being here with us today. We have a number of people on YouTube who have also joined us for the live stream over there. You can connect with me on YouTube using the link at the top of the room. Now, for those who are just joining us, for the last hour or so, I've been hosting a wonderful leader from Zimbabwe. He's actually on the ground in Zimbabwe. His name is Tinofara Manasseh, and he's the CEO of Center for Total Transformation, a Zimbabwean organization that has served over 10,000 women and children. And he's also the co-founder of Mumana Enterprise, an agribusiness enterprise in Zimbabwe as well. Tinofara, I would love for you to just share your thoughts in regards to what you heard people say about you and about this proverb, and then share with us how everyone in the room can stay connected with you. Thank you. And how they can support your work.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you everyone for your very nice comments and also your insights on the proverb. It's good to hear other perspectives. Some interpretations you don't put a link to until you hear other people speaking. So I'm very glad to have gotten a piece of everyone's wisdom. And thank you so much for the comments. When you're inside and doing the work, sometimes you forget to look up and just see what you've been doing, or sometimes you do look up and you feel we haven't done this, we haven't gotten to where we want to go, but it's one step at a time. And thank you everyone for the encouraging words, and I think I've gotten more strength to carry on and to keep pushing with the rest of the team at CTT. It's great to have connected, and I hope we can connect more after this. My personal social media, you can find me on Facebook as Tinofara Manasseh. I don't know if my name is coming up on the screen, but that's exactly how it is on Facebook. It is great. That's the spelling, Tinofara Manasseh, on Instagram and on Facebook. As for Center for Total Transformation, we do have a website. It's www.cttzim.org. So CTT is short for Center for Total Transformation. So cttzim.org. www.ctt.org. CT.
I think we lost Tino Farah. Tino, carry on. Just say the website one more time, if you can hear me. Okay, I think we lost him. Network connection is always a challenge sometime. But, we were at the very tail end of our conversation today, and I truly, truly appreciate you all for being here with us for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. I love, dissecting these proverbs. I see that Tino is trying to get back to the conversation, so I'll just allow him.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. The African Wi-Fi. Someone should start a Wi-Fi company. Better connectivity.
It's a problem. It's a problem everywhere in the continent. And it's true. Someone needs to start it, and it needs to be an African. Maybe it should be one of us. Maybe we need to have a meeting with Chutaleni and talk about this. Seriously, it's a big problem everywhere.
It is, definitely. Yeah. But I'm glad it hung on for the whole session. So I was sharing the website www.cttzim.org. .org, and our Instagram. You can find the links on the website to Center for Total Transformation social media. On Facebook, we are Center for Total Transformation. On Twitter, we are @_CTT Zimbabwe. And then on Instagram, we are @CTT Zimbabwe. So you can find us on those platforms on social media to follow up with us. And we also have uh, a donate link on the website for those who want to contribute to the cause. And for those who want to find out more, please feel free to contact us on any of the pages or on my personal page. And we can talk more and chat more on how we can maybe even work together and support each other. Because I also believe in the work that we're doing, collaboration is a must, and it's a key if we're going to make the impact we want to make in Africa. So I thank you, Simon, for collaborating. This is a big collaboration, just spreading the word, and the work that you're doing, collaborating with different Africans. I'm confident that the continent will definitely go forward one effort at a time. And we do have a GoFundMe page up on our Instagram page and our Facebook page. This GoFundMe page, we specifically set it up for we want to have a Christmas party for the orphans and vulnerable children. We have over 600 orphans and vulnerable children at the center in Harare. That we want to have a party for. As you know, it's been a very, very difficult year. I watch on the news the difficulties across many different countries, but I always think people in the African context, not to discredit some of the struggles that people go through overseas, but most of the children, most of the underprivileged communities here have a harder time adjusting to global problems like the one we just faced this past year. So we're hoping to kind of end the year on a different note. So we've started fundraising for a big Christmas party where we can just all cheer up, have a good time, and sort of forget shit off 2021 and go into 2022 on a cheerful note. So please feel free to contribute, and please feel free to share on the pages and to like our pages. And hopefully we can work together. And I just want to appreciate everyone on the platform for taking time to hear the story and to just exchange words. You'll be catching me on the platform quite a lot of times. I love the African proverbs, and I'm definitely going to join the show. Thank you so much, Simon. Really appreciate you and appreciate everyone. Thank you.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Yes, I'll definitely be inviting you because I want us to have specific sessions just about agriculture in Africa, and
Awesome.
to just dive a little deeper and learn about what you're doing specifically and how that relates to what's going on in Kenya, because a lot of the produce from Zimbabwe are also available in Kenya, so there's opportunities for collaborations. And I'm also involved a lot in the food justice movement here in Seattle as well, and online with the climate change movement. So this, there is need for all of us to collaborate more than we've ever done before. And the internet, look how quickly we did this, we just need maybe 5 other Azels and everything will start changing around Africa. So anyway, Azel, thank you again for connecting Tino and I, and one more time thank you to everybody that is still here with us for the Daily African Proverbs. I'm looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Now, actually, just one thing to announce, 2 things to announce. One is at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today here on Clubhouse, we will be having the conversation around 3 travel gems in Africa. So if you are planning to travel to Africa, or if you've been to Africa before, or if you're in Africa, join us at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the One Vibe Africa Club. We will be talking about the travel gems in Africa, but also I will be sharing more details about the 2 trips I'm planning next year. Every year I've been taking groups of people back to Africa, specifically Kenya. And so next year I'm planning 2 trips. If you want to travel to Africa with me, you will be able to let me know why. I'll share the details today at 1 p.m. And we do this every week, Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Clubhouse and also here on YouTube. Then tomorrow, I am hosting Gogo Rutendo Ngara. She's Zimbabwean originally, but she lives in South Africa. She is a respected spiritual leader, a scholar, and, I've been hosting her every Thursday for a while. We took a 2-week break, but tomorrow I will not be here on Clubhouse. I will be on Twitter Spaces. I will be hosting the Daily African Proverbs on Twitter Spaces for the first time. So if you're in the room and you're familiar with Twitter Spaces, join me there tomorrow at the same time, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll also be live streaming on YouTube. And I want to host the conversations with Gogo Rutendo Ngara on Twitter Spaces every Thursday going forward, so that we can just, test how the Daily African Proverbs will do on a different platform if we do it there consistently. So I need help with the session tomorrow. I'm not very familiar with Twitter Spaces, but we have to try it while it's still new. And we have to expand where we are having these conversations. Especially Gogo Rutendo Ngara is someone whose teaching needs to be heard by many people than Clubhouse can offer. So that's why I feel, building an audience for the Thursday sessions on Twitter is very critical. Anyhow, I am grateful, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you again, my brother Tino Farah. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers, brother.
Thank you so much.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan.